It is day 21 of the war. Overnight, U.S.-Israeli airstrikes were launched against Tehran, blasts heard across the capital. The strikes came as Iranians across the country and in the diaspora communities around the world marked Nowruz, or the Persian New Year. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the country will heed Donald Trump's call and not repeat attacks on key Iranian energy sites like the South Pars field, a facility that was linked to the gas field was hit on Wednesday. The conflict has killed thousands, spread to neighboring nations, and hit the global economy. For more, let's speak to our regional correspondent, Hoda Abdel-Hamid in Doha. Hello to you, Hoda. Iran shows no signs of letting up on its attacks on the Gulf. What's the latest you have?
Well, certainly, even though both President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sort of indicated that there won't be any more attacks on energy facilities inside Iran, it seems to have fallen on deaf ears. Iran continues to be defiant with a wave of attacks around the region, not here in Qatar, but in nearby UAE. The alert went off several times throughout the night, all drones and missiles intercepted, according to the government. But it's in Kuwait that there was the most significant damage. Again, the refinery of Mina Al-Hamadi rather, has been targeted, and there was a fire that seems to now be under control. However, the Kuwaiti authorities say they were obliged to close a unit of that refinery. There were also attacks intercepted in Saudi Arabia and in Bahrain, where some debris fell on a warehouse. So certainly the intensity is continuing.
Yeah, and Donald Trump said that he did know that Israel would strike energy facilities, but he promised it won't happen again. How are Gulf countries reacting to this?
Well, I think it's a situation of wait and see. Gulf countries are actually quite angry at the United States at the moment. The words we heard from the Saudi foreign ministers 2 days ago when he talked from Riyadh after the meeting with the Gulf foreign ministers were quite harsh. That's not something usual in this part of the world, where usually they like to have this kind of soft diplomacy and not speak too publicly about how they feel. You also saw it in the op-ed written by the Omani foreign minister that appeared in The Economist earlier this week. He questioned this war. He questioned who was in charge of America's foreign policy, and he said that if they didn't realize that the repercussions will be felt on the Gulf region, then it was a great miscalculation. And then you also have from the UAE a very significant voice, Khalaf al-Habtour, one of the most prominent businessmen there, a tycoon, who wrote on social media specifically to Mr. Trump, asking him, who allowed you to carry out this war? Who allowed you to put our region in insecurity? That post went viral really across this region. So you are hearing, maybe not directly from the government itself, but certainly from very prominent people, scathing attacks on the American foreign policy and on President Trump himself, bearing in mind that this part of the world has invested trillions of dollars in the United States. So this is certainly not what they expected in return.